Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, welcome to the Crude Effect
Right,
podcast. Yes, sir. Today we're going to be talking about Eddie Murphy and Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Having a little rift.
It's a little rift.
Just a little rift, a little black community
I think
rift.
they'll settle it at some point.
Yeah, and something that honestly is good for us as a community to really discuss.
True.
Eddie Murphy, let's give him applause. He's making a real big comeback as far as coming
It's
to
about
America.
time. I missed him for about 15 years.
Yeah, and I think it was a self-exile.
Yeah.
So he's coming back strong, doing a Coming America Part
Yes.
2, and he made a really big impression when he came back to Saturday Night Live. He hadn't been back in, 20, 30 years almost.
Oh,
And-
he also did a movie, Dolomite movie.
yeah, and he's doing a Dolomite movie, which is
It's on
outstanding.
Netflix. Yeah, that's pretty good.
And then that has been
Pretty good.
outstanding. And he's talking about doing a comedy special as well.
Yeah.
So Eddie came on and he did his SNL stint, brought back some of the old characters.
Outstanding,
Yeah, it was
y'all.
great. I advise everybody to check it out.
Outstanding.
Some of the Gumby characters, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. At one point in the monologue or whatever, and Eddie's a comedian, so let's all take it with a grain of salt. Eddie made a reference to, because mind you, during the time when he was at SNL, Bill Cosby was there, and Bill Cosby was America's Dad. He had the Cosby Show, Different World. He was pretty much, running NBC for the most part, and definitely Thursday nights. And Eddie made a reference to, who knew 30 years later.
We're going to play the clip. real
Okay.
quick. Watch.
So much has changed. I actually just had a new baby just about a year ago. That means I have 10 kids now. 11 if you count Kevin Hart. No, I'm kidding. I love Kevin Hart. I'm just teasing. My kids are actually pretty much my whole life now. And you know what? But if you would have told me 30 years ago that I would be this boring, stay-at-home, house dad, and Bill Cosby would be in jail, even I would have took that bet. I'll tell you, who is America's dad now?
And so that's where we are now, where Eddie basically was like making kind of jest that, Bill's in jail and that Eddie's really pretty much, a stay-home dad, kind of
I'm
quote-unquote
free.
America's dad. So the riff was Bill Cosby's spokesman came out and basically said, by making that kind of comment towards Bill, especially being the predicament that he's in, which was, we can talk about if it's self-imposed or not, but that made Eddie kind of like a Hollywood slave, because he was kind of using Bill's plight as a way to kind of step back up and to kind of get himself back on. And the thing I wanted to ask you was, one, if that was you and you were in Mr. Cosby's position, should you take offense to it? And two, how would you handle it, and how should we, as audience members, fans, of obviously Eddie, and regardless of whatever you separate with Bill Cosby, obviously some of us are fans of his work.
Right.
How would you separate that? And also two African American icons. How do you separate that? How do we solve it? Or is there something to be solved? Or is it just what it is, which is jokes?
This is a very sensitive space for us African Americans. Many times we get on television, we get these platforms, when we come out in our way that we do, because, we're very aggressive vocal people. You know what I'm saying? It's for different reasons, being so silent in this country a lot of times, not allowing our voice to be heard in this country. So, we just speak it.
Right.
Eddie, like you said, I think he took that opportunity to kind of ingratiate themselves back into comedy, using Bill's plight, like you said. From my space, I think it was just comedy, dude.
Right.
And Eddie, Eddie's a very savvy dude. You know what I'm saying? He knew what he was doing. He knew that he would get some attention from this.
Absolutely.
He even probably knew Bill would leave.
And this is not the first. And this is not the first time
No,
he's done it.
no.
He
They
did it. I think
they have a little history here and there.
I think he did it at like a Mark Twain event
Yeah,
where he was
did.
getting an
Yep,
award.
he
So
sure
this
did.
isn't the first time
He
he's tried
sure
this
did.
out.
And Bill probably let it go the first time.
He did
This
because
time
it was
he's
an
like,
award for
okay.
him. This is your shine,
Yeah, I
and
mean-
it's an award that Bill has gotten, by the way. So
That's
yeah,
true. But to go into the point, I don't have a problem with it. You know what I'm saying? These are two strong men, two comedic guys, and
Genius.
Bill has taken his shots. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
At times too,
Yes.
as a comedic guy.
Yeah.
But I don't think Bill, like I said, I don't think he took it too hard to the chest like that.
Right.
It's 50-50, glass half full for me.
yeah.
What do you think?
I thought it was comedic too. If he really wanted to be politically correct, which obviously most comedians are not, or the
Right.
great ones, he could have thrown Matt Lauer under the bus too.
He sure
with
could've.
with Bill. I mean,
Why
they're both
didn't he?
that's
didn't he?
that's the thing. I think Bill's the bigger face, and like you said, they've had issue because Bill wasn't, hasn't always been a fan of that kind of comedy, Richards and Eddie's. He's never, I don't want to say he didn't value them for what they were, but he's always been like, that's kind of
proper. Just
well, he kind of looked at it as low end comedy,
and that to me, that's the real genius. That shows me how genius Bill Cosby was. That he didn't have to cuss.
Right.
He didn't have to
Right.
go outside those lines to make
Right.
people laugh.
Right.
And that's the kind of lane that Kevin Hart's in, which he does very
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
And he's
true.
catching a lot of flack from the Mike Epps and all those guys
Right.
for being too proper. They feel like, because he's walking that plank or traveling down that road, that he's getting more opportunities.
I mean, and everybody has their own taste.
Right,
I
I
just
agree.
think that we just have to value each one's taste. It's just that one taste is going to be a little more palatable and offer more to
Digestible. Right.
offer more to a larger audience
Right.
than some other ones. And it doesn't mean that one grouping is better than the other necessarily, but it's just that one is going to have more of an opportunity to make, economic gains. And I think sometimes Bill has not been able to articulate that in that way, where he's not saying it to denigrate anybody. He's doing it to just try and uplift, but sometimes he's just not articulating in a way. He's like, look, economically, if we're going to grow, we kind of have to be a little more, well-rounded. We have to be a little more, well-spoken. We have to be a little, educated. And sometimes people have taken that, especially those that may not want to go to school or may not, come from the streets and did it their way, which is fine. Everybody has their own way. But like who, they're like, well, you're looking down on me. And so that's why I think Bill has kind of gotten that
Missed
flack.
it. Kinda missed it.
And he's gonna ruffle the feathers of a Cat Williams, a Eddie,
True.
a Richard. Those that even a Mike Epps that kind of play in that area.
Well, we talked about that pre-production. They come. We need everyone on every different type of in every
Platform.
category or
Yeah.
platform. Because some people are just coming from different ways of living,
And you're
different
gonna
ways
touch
of,
different
Yeah,
people,
you're
yeah.
gonna touch different, and you grew up and saw things a certain way. And like you said with Richard Pryor, how he got on, how Bill kind of came at Richard early in his career, because Richard started being belligerent at the mouth and things like
Right.
that. For whatever the reason, Richard's like, man, this is me. I can't do what
Right.
you do. That's your lane.
And I've tried it
Yes,
because
he's-
he did it with the Ed
Yeah.
Sullivan early in the Ed Sullivan years.
Yeah.
Richard didn't come out like that.
No,
Richard
he-
was not like that at first. And
And that was the beauty of him. He could be funny.
either way.
Yeah, either way, but he chose to go down that super real path, and there's nothing wrong with that because comedy it's a creative art,
Yes.
just like music.
Yep.
You can't judge any genre of music. You may
You can
disagree with it.
right. You can judge it and critique it, but you can't say that it's
you
wrong.
can have
It's-
opinion,
Right.
But you can't judge it because it's all creative art.
I agree. I think that's why I wanted to bring it up because it's two obviously powerful African American men.
Yeah.
Obviously, both of their careers are going in different directions, but they're still powerful men. And Bill still has influence, whether people want to acknowledge it or not. Bill still has a lot of influence out here, and just to see how. Even after spokesman said, I look forward to us, I think this was Mr. Cosby speaking, through his spokesman, like I look forward to us, one day being able to talk about this because
Yeah, I think that would be good.
because I think one of the things that
It needs to happen.
he would say is, we don't need to use each other to break each other down. And I think Eddie would be like, come on, man, I'm just telling the joke. And Bill, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm sure Bill was watching it, in his, cell or whatever. I'm sure he was watching the
He was
Saturday Night
laughing,
Performance.
yeah, he
Yeah,
was
come on, man.
laughing. Come on,
He
wouldn't be a comedian
no,
if he didn't laugh.
No, and that's it. And like I said, and then we even said in pre-production, he came up with Red Fox. So it would be hypocritical for him
True.
to be like that, to be so, over the top with it when he came up with Red Fox, who was just as filthy as anybody in the mouth. So, yeah, that's really.